Hey everybody, and welcome back to Storytime with JRP. We're continuing our book, Laurence Grey, Secret of the Lost Roanoke Colony, and we're currently in chapter 41. Now, as you may notice, I'm wearing more casual clothing, and that is because it is a really hot summer day outside. I don't think I can get on my nice clothes today, and also there's background noise because there's a fan as well, so I'm sorry about that. But let's get into a brief recap of the previous chapter, which remember are twice as much lengths. Basically, the conclusion is that the son, Jason, from another reality, tells his other reality father, Grey, that basically they need to stop General Sheldon or he's going to cause World War III. That's basically what's happening. But the problem is that he has to choose between saving his son or saving the world, because he can't have both. So that's where we last left off. So let's get into that now in chapter 41, titled Closing In on Roanoke. Laurence Grey rematerialized back at Area 51, a mere 2 seconds after he left. General Sheldon was still in the process of turning away to leave the room. "I'm back, General," stated Grey, "and I have the next clue." Sheldon was unfazed. "Great. Oh, great. How long were you gone?" Grey laughed. About 2 seconds." Sheldon frowned. "I mean, how long were you in 1673? Grey shrugged. "I don't know, about 3 hours. Why?" Sheldon became smug. "You don't really have time for an explanation, Grey. You only have 8.5 hours. "What?" exclaimed Grey. Sheldon smiled evilly. "That's half an hour you spent before you left, and 3 hours in 1673. Oh, and subtract about 5 minutes for us talking right now." Grey was furious. He swung at Sheldon and made contact right on Sheldon's jaw. Sheldon flew back and hit the floor hard. He was nearly unconscious, but he managed to say, "You just lost 3.5 more hours for that." He then blacked out. Grey was fuming. He wanted to do more to Sheldon, but the guards had finally come to their senses and restrained Grey. They threw him back in the cell from which he technically had just left a few minutes ago. Once the guards walked away, Grey looked at the latest clue for the first time and read it aloud. "A place which trees and flowers abound, and yet a place where reading can be found. On the coast is where a ton of hunting is. Find the tree that has no green, with it 2 rocks, not 1, not 3. That's where the clue ended. Grey had to think fast. He only had 4.75 hours remaining. Let's see, he thought. Reading. That could be a bookstore or a library, but somehow intermingled with a forest and perhaps a park? A park where people can read? That could be anywhere. But, okay, well, on the coast with a ton of hunting, whatever that means. Wait, ton, hunting, ton, hunting, hunting, ton, Huntington Library. Oh, of course. Now I'll just need to grab that dead tree. Grey ran to the door of his cell. "Let me out. I know where the next clue is." The guards led him to Sheldon. Grey blurted, "Get the platoon ready. We're heading to Huntington Library." Sheldon just stared. The Huntington Library? Really? Well, it's Grey's own time he's wasting, so whatever. "All right, troops, gather on the cargo jet. I want my entire elite assassin force on the trip. And Grey, for your sake, you better be right in your interpretation of the clue. How would 1600s aliens know about the Huntington Library?" Grey steeled his eyes. "Trust me. Now let's go." So Grey, Sheldon, and 8 of Area 51's finest combat soldiers and sharpshooters boarded the massive cargo jet. The trip would take 2 hours, cutting Jason's remaining time to live nearly in half. Grey knew it would be a close shave. The men at Area 51 would still suck the air out of Jason's room on schedule, whether Sheldon was there or not. Only a direct order from Sheldon would stop this. Grey may be only 2 hours away from being alone. 2 hours later, as expected, the jet touched down at LAX airport. Grey, not wasting any time, leapt out of his airplane seat and dashed out of the airport. With airports taking so much time for security checks like they do, Laurence only had 1.75 hours left. He quickly hailed a cab and they all leapt in. "Hit the gas, driver!" yelled Grey. "Get us to the Huntington Library, immediately!" The taxi driver, apparently, was dead set on getting a tip, so he drove like a maniac. From driving around slower cars to driving on the wrong side of the road even, Mr. Jose Gonzalez would not be stopped. They arrived at the Huntington Library after driving a mere 15 minutes, a journey which should have taken an hour. As they were getting out, which was a challenge since there were 11 people in one taxi, Grey asked Jose a question. "Hey, Mr. Gonzalez, care to join our party?" Jose was uncertain, but then Grey said, "You can be our official driver." Gonzalez perked up. "Certainly, sir. You have a deal." The 5-foot Mexican man felt very good about the deal he had made, but he was unaware of the previous antics of General Sheldon. The 8 assassins, 2 civilians, and 1 general together walked into the Huntington Library, not sure of what to look for or how to find it, and there wasn't much time left. Alright, that is it for chapter 41, guys. So now they have the first clue, they're in the Huntington Library, but what are they going to find? Well, you're going to have to find out next week. Why do I keep saying next week? We can find out tomorrow in the next chapter, guys. Alright, I'll see you then.